The chosen guru was the butterfly, the genius behind the guru was the scales on the butterfly wing. A short abstraction on the study of the scales were how the scales are actually being stacked. The image above on the left was an example of 3 chosen butterflies and how the scales on their wings are arranged. After the study of the 3 butterfly scales, a few conclusions were: firstly, there was a certain order at certain areas on the arrangement of the scales. For example, the scales were arranged side by side. Secondly, how two surfaces of scales actually support a single scale on the top. Thirdly, there were a certain disorientations and disorder at certain areas of the wing. Lastly, how individual scales had a flapping motion. Another study that was abstracted was how the scales create different densities for different purposes within one wing structure. For example, scales are more compact and stacked when nearer to the body of the butterfly to serve as a protection as camouflage from predators. Towards the edge of the wing, the scales are more spaced to enhance flexibilities. Moving on, I played around with the pattern of the scales, such as the scale has 5 points, I experimented with different shapes with different number of points, like a square which has 4 points. I tried cutting and bending it to create the movement of the scales. However, I felt that there wasn't a clear translation of the purpose of the scales with a 4-pointed shape. Instead, I moved on to a 3-pointed shape which is triangles. I scored the shape of the triangles in an orderly manner, flipping it upwards and casting shadows using light. Another experiment was cutting different variations of triangles and repeating the steps. I could conclude that it creates different densities. After deciding on the shape I wanted to focus on, which is a triangle, I tried playing with a single triangle to create a different variation of multiple modules with the same size triangles. The red within each module shows how the triangles were arranged. I then focused on a specific module and abstracted the module to create different variations of forms. While I was experimenting with the different form of variations, I was able to replicate the form of the butterfly scale. To achieve the form, I extruded the module to create the form which replicates the butterfly wing structure. For example, curved edges are more sparse in scales and the top is more densely packed. With that experiments and study, I made my first study model to create an order within the form. Grids were added as a supporting structure on the scales of same shapes, which replicates the scales of the butterfly wing. The shape were also folded to allow flapping, which determines the shadow casting to the ground using light. Moving on to the second model, I further experimented the form from the first model with different sizes of triangles instead. I decided to also play with the shapes where all of it were either flapping in or flapping out, which gives a different amount of density of shadows while light is casted on them, while not forgetting the stacking layers. With the 2 experimental study model, I then arrived to my final model where certain triangular models were fixed and others were flapping up and down. While working on the final model, I also played with different materials such as clear plastic and thick papers, which further enhance the stacking of the modules, which creates different amount of densities within the structure. I hope this video enhances on how the abstraction of the scales of the butterfly wings are actually being incorporated into the structure. Thank you.